Hello everyone. Thank you very much for joining me. So obviously by the title, if you're interested, guessing you are by coming across this video, I'm going to give you guys my 2021 Stanley Cup playoff predictions. Before I get into it, I'm just going to lay out a couple ground rules. I like to think I'm pretty knowledgeable about the NHL and throughout the NHL world, but obviously I'm not perfect. I don't watch every game. I don't follow every team religiously. I don't know everything about every player and stuff like that. So just kind of bear with me with that. Also, I like to mention that upsets do happen, so I wouldn't, you shouldn't be surprised if three or four seeds pull off upsets. Happens all the time in the playoffs. We didn't expect the 2019 Columbus Blue Jackets to sweep the Lightning, who were the President's Trophy, one of the best teams in regular season, had 62 wins. Stuff like that happens. Playoffs are a different animal, so regular season success doesn't always necessarily equate to playoff success. So just keep an open mind there. Maybe people won't agree if I take a lower seed. I mean, I don't think I'm gonna have that many upsets, but I'm just laying that out. And also, obviously, these are my opinions, and you're all welcome to disagree with me if you want. You can leave them down in the comments if you want to discuss. I'm open to discussion. But I ask that you guys respect it. I mean, we all have our different takes on things. We don't always view things the same. So anyway, we'll get into it. Let's see. Let's start with the West. All right, so Colorado St. Louis. I look at the series. I mean, Avs are clearly the better team. They're the odds-on favorite. The Blues have been pretty disappointing. I expect them to make the playoffs, but a 4 seed to me is a little disappointing. But just when you look at the rest of the teams, the other 4 seeds, I mean, Islanders are pretty good. Even Nashville, I think, is better. I mean, maybe not Montreal, but I mean, I don't know. I just feel like there's more competitive 1-4 matchups out there, and I don't look at Colorado St. Louis as going to be that close. The Blues, I know they have the championship experience. A couple years ago, they won the cup, but I really don't think they're that same team, and I just think the Avs, they match up so much better. I think they're just better on all fronts. So I'm going to take the Avalanche to win a series, and I'm going to say 5 games. I don't know. Not really sold on St. Louis. Anyway, Vegas, Minnesota, I'll tell you guys right now, Vegas is not happy to have the Wild. I think, Colorado winning that last game and locking them with the Blues, Vegas is kind of pissed off because Minnesota has been an exciting team. I think they're going to be a tough out. I think a lot of people might even predict Minnesota to upset as kind of like a sneaky dark horse. But I look at Vegas, and they have proven playoff performers. Mark Stone, Max Pacioretty. They're more experienced. I think they're a much deeper team. Um, I think they're more physical, with the presences like Ryan Reeves, for example. Um, while they've been exciting, no question about that, but I just wonder, how their depth and how their team all around can really compete with Vegas and how they're going to look in the playoffs. We just haven't seen that from Minnesota yet. Although I think it's going to be a competitive series, I am going to take Vegas. Say 6 games. So it'll might surprise the Knights a little bit, give them a bit of a scare, but ultimately I'm going with Vegas. All right, we'll move. Yeah, we'll go round by round. We'll go to the North now. All right. So Toronto versus Montreal. Toronto is overwhelmingly the favorite here, the best team in the North Division by far, and rightfully so. I mean, even in season series, they've completely dominated Montreal, and I'll admit I'm a Habs fan, so obviously I want my Habs to do well, but man, it's been disappointing for Montreal this year. I really expected a little bit better. I'm happy they made the playoffs at least, but a lot of people will point to maybe the North being a weaker division, but let's not get into that anyway. Um, Yeah, special teams. Not. I don't think anyone has significant edge because Montreal's power play is not that great, but Toronto's isn't that much better either. Penalty kill. Montreal's is awful. I think Toronto maybe has a bit of advantage there, but anyway, uh, I think the advantage from Toronto is just they have more stars, better goal scoring, and I think they're more structured defensively all around. Um, for me, it's just a matter of will the Leafs finally get over the hump? They haven't won a series in a long time. We just don't know. You never know. People think maybe it's a different team. I think maybe it is. We'll have to see what happens there. So yeah, I'd say Montreal. I mean, Toronto definitely is the favorite, and I'd say they should win the series. But I gotta say, man, Montreal's a weird one for because people are saying that maybe they're better built for the playoffs and stuff like that. The guys they have, they're very physical. I think they're one of the higher teams in hits, if I'm not mistaken. Guys like Josh Anderson maybe make an impact. And then you look at Carey Price. Like I know hasn't had the greatest season, but he wasn't that great last year either. And then the bubble happened, and they upset a Penguins team with Sidney Crosby, and they were one of the best Eastern Conference teams in the league. Montreal probably shouldn't even made the playoffs. I don't know. Montreal, they might be able to put up a fight here. Uh, like playoff Carey Price, if they get that, Montreal might challenge. They might push this further than people think. Um, they proved it in the bubble last year. They were definitely a tough out. So we'll see if Montreal is better built for the playoffs, like people claim. I'm still gonna pick the Leafs, but I think it'll be a six-game series. Don't have or push over whatsoever. All right, and then Edmonton, Winnipeg. I have a bit of a different feeling about this. I mean, Hellebuck has been relatively consistent. I know the Jets have been on a slide lately. Oilers are probably the hottest team in this division, even hotter than Toronto, I would say. But Mike Smith, man, what a season he's having at like 40 years old. Great to see from him. Obviously, the Oilers have the top power play. Even their penalty kill isn't that bad, from what I remember. And you look at the Jets, defensively, they're not good. Like, I just wonder, can Hellebuck alone save them? You know, because I just don't know how the Jets can stop Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. Just the way they've been sliding. I just think defensively, it's a terrible matchup for Winnipeg. I just don't know how they stop them. And Oilers have had their number during the season. I think the Jets would match up well against Montreal. Quite frankly, I think they'd be even better off against Toronto. But Edmonton, they just have their number. They're way too good offensively. I just think even the Jets' offensive depth might be able to match up. But I just think defensively, they take penalties. There would be in a ton of trouble. I think Edmonton is gonna take care of business in 5 games. Maybe that's disrespectful, but I'm just not sold on Winnipeg this season, to be totally honest with you. Then we're going to go to the Central Division now, starting with Carolina, Nashville. Carolina, better offensive team, better defensive team. Clearly the better team. I'm probably going to take them to win. Only way I see the Preds winning is if Stars steals that series for them, because he's an underrated goalie, maybe the most underrated goalie. Like he really carried that team the second half of the season. But yeah, but goaltending is very crucial. So like, I would not be surprised in the slightest if the Predators somehow pull off an upset just based on UC Saros' play alone. But ultimately, I think it's going to be tough for them to steal it just with him because offensively, I don't trust them. Carolina's much deeper as well. Defensively, Kane's have been better. I'm going to take the Canes in 5. Can do a little bit better. We'll have to see what happens. And then we got Florida and Tampa Bay. This one to me is probably the best series in the first round. Just the way the season ended with these two, the last couple of games for the playoffs, I think it's going to be a bloodbath. My goodness. Obviously, you got to put your respect on the Lightning, the defending champs. I think they're the favorites, rightfully so. For me, Kucherov, Stamkos coming back. You wonder how they will look. Kucherov hasn't played all year. Stamkos has been out for a while. I just wonder how they kind of interfere with their chemistry because they've been playing pretty well. But also Hedman's playing hurt, and he's their number one guy, leader in minutes. I wonder how that affects the team, him not at 100%. And then I look at Florida, man, and I just have a feeling, man, they are a sneaky, scary team. For some reason, I just feel like this year they're for real. Like they have the offensive weapons. Ekblad going down might be a massive loss to them, but I just feel like they match up fine against the Lightning, to be totally honest. I just like the way they play. And you know what? I'm going to give it to the Panthers in 7 games. I think they can pull off this upset. They are. I just Florida. I think they have what it takes to beat Tampa. So yeah, I'm going with Florida here. All right, now the East Division. maybe the toughest one to predict without question, might be the most controversial because any of these four I think has a legitimate shot at making it out. As these other three divisions, I mean, West and North for the most part, I think it's consensus. Central can go either way with Florida, Tampa, let's say, but the East is a tough call. So I'm going to start Pittsburgh and the Islanders. Now, these are two different teams in terms of their style of play. Penguins are one of the better offensive teams. They can score a lot, but the Islanders, they shut you down. They've proven it in the playoffs in the past, especially against the Penguins. They swept them a couple years ago in the opening round. Um, Obviously, I was very impressed with Pittsburgh. They definitely exceeded my expectations. Crosby doing it again, Hart Trophy candidate. Pretty awesome to see him still got it. But you don't sleep on the Islanders. You just don't. Like they've proven in the past, like they're a team that just wears down opponents come crunch time in the playoffs. So I think it's gonna be very difficult for Pittsburgh to kind of get through that brick wall. I mean, you look at the bubble last year. If Montreal was able to shut down that Penguins team, how do you think the Islanders fare against them? I think their chances are even better. I know the Penguins had a great regular season. I just look at the Penguins' defense and goaltending, and I just don't think it's as good. And I think the Islanders can definitely find their way around that while also shutting down the Penguins' high top heavy scoring talent and their stars. Um, so yeah, I think I'm gonna take the Islanders in an upset here. It's gonna be a relatively good series. I'll say it's a 6 game series, but I'm gonna take the Islanders. Maybe that's bold. I don't know. I don't want to sleep on the Islanders. I just think they're too good all around. They've proven it in the playoffs. So yeah. Now Washington, Boston. I think a lot of people are expecting this series to be very close. I personally don't think it's gonna be as close as people think. To be honest, I don't like this matchup for the Capitals at all. Um, Obviously, both teams are very good offensively. I mean, Capitals are way better, but I mean, Boston, they really turned it up in the trade at the trade deadline, after the trade deadline, when Taylor Hall got there, and their top six just got going. And I just think you're riding hot with Boston right now. Washington, to me, they're just giving me some really bad, scary vibes in a bad way. Um, and I just think defensively, Bruins are much more structured. I think their goaltending is better. Washington's goaltending is kind of making me nervous. Um, So yeah, I don't know. I think it's going to be a shorter series. I know they got the top end talent in Washington, but Boston just has that structure that scares intimidates me a little bit more as a fan. So I'm gonna say it's going to be 5 series. So that one might be the most controversial, but I'm just not sold on Washington. All right. Second round, Colorado Vegas in the West, maybe the best series in the entire playoffs. Um, this one can go either way. I think it's gonna go seven. Honestly, when it comes down to it, I just think the Avalanche are probably the favorite here. They're the deeper team offensively. I think they're deeper on the blue line as well. Both teams are very similar in terms of goals against, goals for, um, penalty kill, power play, and Colorado has that advantage. But anyway, um, yeah, the only advantage I give to Vegas is because they're deeper in net. They can ride with either Marc Andre Fleury or Robin Leonard. As with Avalanche, if Philip Grubauer gets hurt at any point, Avs are not winning the cup. That's straight up. Like they need goaltending, and if they don't have it from Grubauer, I don't know who else is going to give it to him. Like I keep stressing this, goaltending is super important. But anyway, I'm gonna assume that he is healthy. Um, yeah, I'm gonna take the Avs in seven. I just think they're a slightly better team, so they're gonna come out of the West Division for me. In the North, like I mentioned before, I don't think Winnipeg would be able to stop the duo of McDavid and Draisaitl just because their defense is not good. But that's not the case for the Leafs. They've proven it in the regular season that they can shut down those two guys, and when those two guys are neutralized, I just there's the depth in Edmonton is just going to be lackluster. I just don't know if it can override the depth in Toronto and their solid defensive play. Even if Mike Smith, continues to play well, I think the Leafs have better depth in goal because Mikko Koskin's not an option, but they have Campbell and Anderson. Maybe Anderson, maybe he gets in, maybe even against the Montreal series gets in, plays pretty well. I think Toronto is the better team there all around. I think they have the ability to shut down the Oilers, so I'm taking the Leafs to come out of the North. All right. Canes and Panthers. This is a good matchup. I don't know, kind of an interesting one. Overall, I think I'm probably going to take the Hurricanes, probably in like a 6 game series. Deeper blue line. I think that's what it comes down to. I think goaltending is pretty similar. They ride with like, they have like each have three decent goaltenders, right? That they can go to at any point. Offensively, I think they match up really well. I just think defensively, Hurricanes are a little bit more structured. I think they're more experienced. The Florida Panthers haven't won a playoff series in a long, long time. So having them knock off the Panthers, I mean the Lightning, that's going to be a tough task. They're going to get out of a grind there, 7 games. Carolina, I see them winning in 5, so I think it's going to be more of a rest factor. They're going to be more rested, more energized. The Panthers are going to be pretty much worn out from that Tampa Bay series, so I think that's a factor there as well, fatigue. So I would take the Hurricanes in that series, but I think it will be a good series. And then we have the Islanders and Bruins. Honestly, Islanders, yep, they can definitely shut down guys from Pittsburgh. I do think obviously their shutdown is great, their defense, their goaltending, but I also think Boston can match that really well. I think their defense is very underrated, as well as their goaltending. Tuukka Rask, when he's hot, he's one of the best in the game, in my opinion. But then you also look at the scoring, and I think the Bruins, that's where they have the advantage there. Obviously, their top six, Pasternak with Bergeron, Marchand on the top line. There's only so much you can contain. I think Bruins probably are the favorite there to win the series. And I'm gonna say 6 games. I think it'll be a bit of a fight, but yeah, I'm gonna take the Bruins. I think the Bruins are probably the best matchup for the Isles. Because Islanders, I think they play well against the Capitals if they came out, but against the Bruins, I think the Bruins are just a better team. Overall, offense is a huge thing. Yeah. Okay. All right. So the final four. So this is how it's reseeded. So Colorado would take on Boston, and Carolina would take on Toronto. Avs and Bruins. I'm gonna take the Avalanche. Again, about depth for me. And even in goal, I think Phil Grubauer is gonna be playing out of his mind like he has all season. He's a Vezina candidate for a reason. Yeah, I just think Avalanche are much deeper offensively. They're deeper defensively as well, and I don't know. They have more weapons all around. I just don't know if the bottom six for the Bruins is going to be able to contain the Avalanche's depth scoring. When you have guys like Jonas Donskoy and JT Compher who've contributed massively on this Avs team, and those guys might likely be on your third line. That says a lot to the depth on the Avalanche. So I think they're a favorite there. I think they're going to go to the finals. And then Carolina, Toronto. This one comes down to experience. I think Carolina is more experienced. The Leafs, obviously coming out of the North, some would argue maybe they haven't faced their toughest opponents yet. I think Carolina is just on another level. I think defensively it's going to be really hard for the Leafs to have any room, whereas against Montreal, I think they're probably going to have an easier time, as well as Edmonton or Winnipeg for that matter. Yeah, I think it's just going to be tough for the Leafs to break through. So yeah, I'm going to take the Hurricanes. I was thinking a 6 game series. Toronto is going to put up a fight, but their playoff run is going to come to an end there. All right. And the Avalanche Hurricanes in my Stanley Cup final. I'm taking the Avalanche to win the Cup. They're just the best team in the league. I know this is a boring pick, but like, I don't know. It just feels like it's their year this year. They just have all the weapons in the world. Um, Nathan McKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, Gabriel Landeskog. You got Kadri and Burakovsky. Like, so many talented weapons. Cale Makar on the blue line, Samuel Girard. Like, I don't know. Hurricanes are a very good team. I just think that the stars on the Avs are going to outshine the stars on the Hurricanes. I think, Grubauer, especially if he's still, playing at his best in net, it's going to be really hard to beat this team. So, yeah, obviously, maybe it's a boring take picking the Avs to win the Cup because, President's Trophy winners and all. But I will say the last team to win the Stanley Cup that also won the President's Trophy was the 2013 Chicago Blackhawks. and that was the lockout shortened year. So I do think that the Avs have a legitimate shot. I think it is their year this year. So yeah, I'm gonna pick them to win the cup. Let me know what you guys think in the comments if you're on this video. I'm just doing this for fun. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. And goodbye.